ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Anita podcast, proudly brought to you by none other than the greatest music festival and travel company in the whole entire world. Of course, that is Awake Tours, none other. All right, so today I get the absolute honor of calling and speaking and interviewing Mrs. Jess Vanderputten, aka Poots, aka the realest deal when it comes to music festival fest heads in the whole entire history of the world. So for some of you, you may actually know Jess and you have probably met her. A few of you may have seen her photos and a few of you may have absolutely no idea who she is. When I did my first set of tours, I was incredibly shy and I was so socially not okay to even be a human. I couldn't even look people in the eye and talk to them. I was so nervous just because of my conditioning at a young age and just who I was at that point in time. So I had this great idea to do this music festival business, as y'all know from episode 1. And we had that first tour and I was like, oh my God, who's going to stand at the front of the bus and talk to the people? And in my head, I was like, I'll do it. But I knew that I couldn't give people the best experience for that first one with the person that I was at that point in time. So I needed help. I didn't know who to get to help me. I didn't know where I could find somebody to help me. I knew absolutely fucking nothing about anything. And so I did what your standard person maybe would have done, which is put an ad out on the local fucking internet site, which for Perth was Gumtree. That's not a good idea. But for Perth was Gumtree, which if you're listening to Canada, it's the equivalent of Kijiji, if I say that correctly, or Craigslist. So just your local site. For a tour guide, I showed them the website. I said what we need them for. And of course, I got a whole array of absolutely just the most random people, which it's my fault for not being so specific, but I had people who had led camels through the desert, who did ATV tours 24 years ago and now they were retiring and thought this is a cool opportunity. And I had people who were at TAFE, but they just thought it would be cool to get a free holiday and they mentioned that in their email. And I was like, wow, where am I going to find someone? Do I have somebody who could help me? No one really knows what I'm doing. I don't know how to get somebody. And so fucking randomly, I had just put that at the side of my brain for like a week or two. And I get an email from this girl saying, hey, I found you guys on Google. I really like what you're doing. Here is a video of all the festivals I've been to. Here is a video that I made about what I think about life. And I just want to put myself out there and let you know if you ever need help or anything. I'm from New Jersey. I go to all these festivals. I'm really good with people. I'll also send you a voice interview just to get to know me. If you ever need help, let me know. And I was just like, right. Is this the person? Granted, I do obviously get emails like this all the time now as well, but back then it was still on page like 70 of Google. I have no idea how she found me. And I was like, wow, this could be a sign. So I literally responded. I told her kind of what we need. I was like, this is actually really ridiculous random timing. I sent her all these training manuals that I had made in regards to like the places, how to deal with people, everything to do with the business at that point in time. She was like, yep, all good. I can do this. I told her the tour. She's like, yep, I'm familiar with the area. All good. And I was like, would you be interested if we went over and we did some training? And so we did that. We did some training. And it's just the biggest whim I think I've ever gone on, and honestly probably the most unprofessional thing, but it worked out perfectly. It worked out amazing. I paid for her ticket. When my cousin and I were on the plane on the way over there, we were like, we just paid for this girl's ticket. Is she going to come? She was there. She was waiting in the room. She was all ready. She'd read all of the manuals. She knew everything off by heart. She was a mad bitch. She knew, she was just dope at every single thing that you could have wanted at that point in time for that job. And I was like, how is this even possible? So that is a story of Jess, who then would come on to help us for a few years. She now is a flight attendant. So she does that, and we try and meet up as often as we can. She resides in New Jersey. So we're going to call her now. It is 10 p.m. in New Jersey. The way it's going to go down is I'm just going to ask her about her music festival experience. Because honestly, guys, I didn't even know what a fest head was until I met Jess. I don't mean people who do it for the photo. I don't mean people who do it for the DJs. They're like, bro, she is the realest deal. She has fucking all the wristbands, all the merch type stuff, all the experiences. She knows the people who run it. She's been on panels. She's spoken in panels about music festivals and her experience. She knows, like, she just knows everyone, and she absolutely loves it, but for all the right reasons. And then we're going to go into a funny story, the story of us driving to Vegas. Then I will get her to explain how she got into a fight with a celebrity. And then a couple more questions about travel. Yeah. All right, let's call Jess in New Jersey. All righty, guys. As promised, I have Jess on the phone. Jess, how are you doing?
Hey, Anita, how are you?
Not too bad. All right, so I've already explained how Jess and I met and how out of a whim of luck, she was the most perfect person. So I'm going to ask Jess, initially, after she got on the plane, got into the hotel, and then met up with us, we did the training. What was going through your head?
I think the overall feeling was just, I was so stoked because I felt like this was a dream job opportunity, and I was obsessed with music festivals. I still am obsessed with music festivals, but I had watched Coachella on live streams for so many years. And so I worked the Coachella tour with you first.
Yeah.
And it just, I had always dreamed of going there. And I just couldn't believe that I was going to be able to have this experience. I mean, it honestly was mind blowing. But I did have a little feelings of nervousness.
Naturally.
Because, yeah, naturally, because we had never met before. And honestly, all of the emails from you were so professional, and like I didn't want like to let you down type of thing. I honestly feel like we were meant to come into each other's lives.
Definitely. It just works so well, and like, yeah, like I love you and everything about you, and it was never awkward, it was never weird, and it was just an amazing team, and everyone was like, Jess is dope. I'm like, I know, this is great. I'm going to ask you, when did you originally start going to music festivals, and do you actually know or have an idea or how many you have been to?
I actually do have an idea of how many I've been to because I just constructed a list a few weeks ago. I would say I went to Warped Tour. That was my first festival. Warped Tour 2001 or 2002, which was a lot of punk rock, and they toured all over the United States for a lot of years. But I wouldn't say that I really got into really traveling to music festivals until probably around 2011. As far as how many I've been to now, I think I've been to over 30. I'm also a repeat offender for a lot of them, meaning I have gone to some of them for multiple years in a row.
Oh, so you mean 30
so I just
separate
listened
festivals?
To your
not even how many times you've gone.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, well, you would have gone to like Groove Cruise itself like 7 times.
Yeah, I've done Groove Cruise 8 times. Yeah. I've done Electric Forest 7 times. I did Coachella 3 years with you. I did Tomorrowland 2 years back to back. I have done multiple SXM festivals in St. Martin. Okay, and so yeah, I'm a big repeat offender. So that number 30 is just like the festival
itself,
like alone.
Oh my god! I thought you meant like 30 times. Like, oh yeah, but no, I remember.
And compared to some of my other festival friends in the industry, that is nothing.
Yeah.
There are some people I know that have gone to that amount in just 1 year. I mean,
do you have a favorite?
Yeah,
I hate asking, but do you have a favorite?
True. True life, we're addicted to music festivals. My favorite is Groove Cruise and Electric Forest. Those are my favorites.
Yeah.
I've tried to get you to come, Anita. I've been trying to get you to come to Electric Forest for years, dude. I'm telling you, you're gonna go and you're gonna be like, oh, why didn't I listen to Jess? Like, seriously, dude, it is so sick, and they have so much music that you like there.
Yeah, no, I think I would love it.
Because me and you have like
completely different music types, like.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Not completely. Like, there's certain similars, but then with like the electronic music, I think we have different tastes.
Yeah.
Like the subgenres we listen to.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a bit more into house and stuff now on my time off in ISO. That's the one thing I've liked about it and all these online festivals is I'm discovering so many artists and music that I would never really get the opportunity to because I would just be like, go, go, go.
I completely agree with the live streams, how I have seen some killer sets.
Yeah.
And full sets at that, like full from start to finish that I probably never would see. And I'm just like mind blown. Like, I'm like, wow. Yeah. Like, so I completely agree with you with that. I do. That's like probably been like one of the better things that has come out of all this. And plus also just like the festival community in general, I feel like is doing so many charity streams.
I was going to ask you, what was the scariest thing and what was the most fun thing about tour guiding with us?
Well, you asked scary first, okay, but I'm going to go with the fun. I'm going to go with the fun first, because that's what we're here for when we do awake tours. Yeah, I think the most fun is just obviously it's the same as for you and me as it is for everyone on the tour. I mean, not exactly the same, but the lifelong friendships and the memories that we have from all the years of doing tours together has been so amazing. And to this day, we're still friends. I know you're still obviously keep in contact with lots of people that go on your tours, but I mean, so do I. There's just like amazing friendships that have happened because of the tours and just so many fun nights, like the benders in the hotel rooms or at the pool in our hotel. And, of course, all the festival memories. I mean, I love festivals. So like some of these people that go on the tour never seen anything like that large scale of an event or art or the artists that they're seeing at these festivals. So just seeing their faces and I don't know, all of it has been so much fun. But I also loved, what was the most fun thing, I think, was the fact that I had a microphone on the bus. And I loved talking into it, and everyone always tried to make me say different words because they were convinced that I had a New York accent, even though if you actually talk to a New Yorker, you could tell that I don't have a New York accent. I have a New Jersey accent. So, and everyone always come on my microphone and want to sing, and we do karaoke. Oh, it was so much fun. The scariest thing, there's a few.
Yeah, you don't have to go into detail. You can just say you're nervous, but yeah, I know we've had a couple actual hiccups. But.
Oh my god. I think, okay, so the first tour, since it was the first tour that we were operating together, the first Coachella tour we did, where we had gotten dropped off.
Oh yes.
Like was not the right. That was not the right location at all. Yes. And our bus driver, Ricardo, couldn't find me and the group. And I think you actually went off to go find him. And so I was either on the phone with you or him, but I couldn't understand a word. I think it was him. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. I had, 40 people behind me, like, where's the bus? We were like walking on all the closed roads, like, because they shut down all the roads there because there's just too much traffic. There's too many people. And it was so stressful and scary to me because I was like, oh my God, these people are like trusting me to lead them in the right way. And I had no idea. where anyone was.
It's a different car park. Thank God the next day. It was so much easier. He's like, oh, it was here. But like, yes. But no, that would have been so stressful for you. And I ended up with my cousin and my sister going to try find him to bring him back to everyone and find the right spot. But same thing, we're getting blocked off by the road and the campsite. And then it got to a point where like you had found him and I was like, just go, just go. So then we stayed at Coachella and ended up paying some stupid amount of money for a taxi. But yeah, I was like, there's no way I can find them. If they found Ricardo, then they should leave. But no, it was so stressful.
Yeah. And then there was another time, there was a couple, they didn't come back to the bus. And everyone was exhausted. I think you were actually sleeping. You always slept on the floor in the aisle of the bus.
Professional.
And I think you were sleeping and I didn't want to leave. And I know the driver wanted to leave, but like, I don't know, it's at that moment where you're like feeling like a mother and you don't know where your children are. And and especially at a festival that large scale, obviously the festival culture, and you just don't know like what happened. And I just remember everyone was saying like, you know, we're tired, come on, like we got to go. We waited like a decent half hour past the time, or even probably an hour past, because I was so nervous. I didn't want to leave without them. And they were like, they're not coming, just go. And they were fine. They ended up being fine. I think like they just ended up wanting to like party on the campgrounds or like whatever. There was a lot of scary times. There were so many times that I thought you were going to fire me, Anita. Oh my God, it was so crazy.
It all works out in the end. Like as long as it always works out, it's fine. No, it's shit always goes wrong. It's just a matter of making people not be scared and be like, there's always another way. It's going to be okay. Which leads me, I guess, into our next thing, which is just our personal story of after we went to Vegas for quote unquote training, which it was mine and Jess's first night together out and we got a bit carried away. So I guess we'll start with our drive and how it was for you. So we decided to drive across to Las Vegas and Jess wasn't going to drive, my cousin wasn't going to drive, so it was only on me to drive. So at this point in time, I had not driven on the wrong side of the road and I had no idea what I was doing and I was the one responsible for taking us out. I will post the photos of this as well, but Jess, what was it like driving with me in the car? And meeting the cop as well and getting pulled over. Forgot about that.
I thought I was going to die. I just remember being on the 405 or whatever highway we were on out there when Anita first merged on and being next to all the big 18-wheelers. So there was a lot of times where she would go to turn or you would go to turn and to go to the wrong side of the road. And I was like, left, or right, or whatever.
I just remember.
But we survived, clearly.
We did survive, yeah. And that's when the sheriff pulled me over, and I'll tell the story quickly. But yeah, I was looking at miles per hour and kilometer per hour, but the equivalent, I'll butcher the numbers, but the equivalent was like I was supposed to be doing 100 kilometers, but I was doing 160 kilometers because I was looking at the miles. So he pulled us over and Jess was just like, oh, fuck. And we just hear, or whatever. And then it's just like, hello, this is, what was he? I think he was the Nevada County Sheriff. So, hello, I can't do the accent, but yeah. Hey, this is Nevada County Sheriff. Like, do you know you're speeding? I was like, no, I wasn't. I was going 10 under. And then he's like, no, you weren't. And then he explained it and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was looking at the miles, not the kilometers. Like, we just left like an hour and a half ago from LA. I'm so sorry. And he's like, an hour and a half? This is at least a 3-hour drive. Have you been speeding the whole way? I was like, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. And then, Jess was just like, oh my God. And he gave me a fine. I think it was like 300 US or about that. And I think Jess was more stressed than me. She's like, I'm so sorry. Or like, I can't believe you have to pay it. And I'm like, it's okay. At that time, I just thought it was all funny. But no, that was hilarious. So we got to Vegas and then we went out and we did training as such and then decided to go to a nightclub. We went to XS, which is my favorite nightclub. I don't like nightclubbing, but I generally enjoyed that. I haven't been back in so long because the lines are just astronomically fucking long, like above 3 hours. But So we went out, Jess, and you ended up rolling your ankle. What even happened? I ended up leaving.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. So for everyone wondering, we were training our livers. We ended up getting way too smashed. And Anita ended up leaving. I was like, no, I'm going to stay and dance and club. And I just remember there was like this group of people that were like doing this like almost like dance circle. And I like tried to get in with them, and they kind of like were not having it. Like they kind of were like,
Nope.
bitch, get out of here. And when I stepped back or like danced back, I ended up rolling my ankle, but I was so drunk. I didn't even realize. I walked home
From
to the hotel.
Monte Carlo, that's like
From it. And then I found you. You were not in good shape. You and your cousin were not in good shape at all. And what's crazy about it is that then I ended up doing the entire tour, the entire Coachella, going back to Vegas. And then by the time I got home, so 2 weeks, I was on this ankle. By the time I got back home, I ended up having 2 torn ligaments, which ends up being worse than a break. And my ankle is still fucked. To this day, I wear a ankle brace when I go running and when I lift at the gym.
Oh my God, you were just walking, like it's the worst possible scenario, like 3 days in the desert. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
I'll never forget it. Like Jacinta, who was one of the first people on tour, wrapped my ankle one day. And almost every day I feel like she wrapped my ankle. It was so bad. I mean, it was so bad. If you think about the amount of walking that is, that I walked home from the club and then doing the Day in LA tour and then, doing all of Coachella and then all of Vegas tour.
Oh God.
So bad.
Yeah, it was brutal.
And then we missed our flight.
Yes.
We missed our flight too.
Yes, we missed our flight leaving Vegas after that night of training with her ankle. So it was the morning and I had driven us back somehow, and then we returned the hire car, and then we got to the airport and I went to pay for the baggage and I was like, shit, I don't have my wallet with me. And then we're all trying to figure out where this wallet could be, and I'm like, oh, I always put it underneath my car seat. It has to be under my car seat. And we were like, not going to make our flight anyway. I had vomited on myself after we got there. I think I was like walking or out of the petrol station.
Oh man. Yeah. When we dropped the rental car off, Anita got out and straight up just threw up. And I was like, fuck. I was like, we are fucked. Like I totally fucked my ankle, and I was on like no sleep because I came home way later than you. I came home like, I don't know, whenever the club closed. When do Vegas clubs close now? I don't even know. 4? I have no idea. Ever forget that, how messed up we felt, and then we had to drive the 3 hours back.
We're like, it has to be in the rental car. Go, sorry.
And on top of it, I was haunted by the whole drive. Everyone has to understand. That was one of my first interactions with Anita.
Just not a good time.
Getting in a car with her. I mean, we met the night before, and then we drove out to Vegas.
You're crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we had to go back, get my wallet from the hire car. We had missed our flight. We're like, well, we actually just need to rehire this car. And yeah, took that journey back. And we're like, all right, I think we may be ready for tour. This is not the start that we had, but at least we'd bonded. And we were friends, and we knew that it wasn't weird. Because I remember when Kayla and I, my cousin Kayla, who we speak about before we were meeting Jess, I was obviously a little bit nervous as well. So all these things are running through my head. And one of the things were I was aware it was going to be a party tour, and I was aware people were probably going to be partying quite hard. And I didn't know if Jess would be offended by any of it, or if she would be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening around me type thing. And I remember freaking out. And then Kayla was like, look at her videos. Look at all the festivals she's been to. There's no way that she is going to be offended by people's partying if she's a legit fest head. I'm sure she's seen it all. Okay. Yeah, and then we met you, and then that happened, and you made new friends at the club, and you rolled your ankle, and I vomited on myself, and we were actually friends by the end of it. So it wasn't the training that we had hoped for, but definitely the team building.
Oh man, it was a team building, but I mean, even after that whole tour, just for years I ran the tour with you, and I feel it's one of those things where a lot of people like have this misconstrued perception of what what a soulmate is. Like a lot of people think a soulmate has to be a romantic relationship, but it doesn't. And that's why I always call you my soul sister, because I feel like you are one of my soulmates. Like we were meant to come into each other's lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
No, definitely. Like just effortless as well. So I wanted to ask you about, I wasn't actually there, but this was night 1 of tour in Los Angeles, and we had gone to the Staples Center, I'm quite sure, to watch a basketball game. And after it, we were like, if anyone wants to go out, you can go out. I was tired as hell because I was hungover. But yeah, so I was tired and I didn't want to go. And Jess was like, I'll go. So she went to a karaoke bar, I'm quite sure, with the group, and ended up defending the group against a celebrity. And I will let you tell that story.
Oh my gosh. I'm never going to let this one live down. So, oh my God. So this is what happened when we got on the bus after Staples Center. Obviously, since I'm from the States, I have a lot of friends in different cities all over the States. And one of my good friends from college had invited me to go to karaoke. So I said to Anita, I was like, hey, listen, like, I'm going to go do karaoke if you're going to go chill, like, but I'll invite the group. I don't mind inviting the group. In my head, this was day 1 of tour. In my head, I'm like, oh, they've all just come over from Australia, 16-hour, 30-hour, travel days, basically. No one's going to want to go. We get on the bus, and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to go to karaoke, in West Hollywood. If anyone wants to come, like, raise your hand so I could have an idea. The entire group, basically the entire group wanted to go. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Okay, let me let my friend know I'm about to roll up with all of you. So we went, and it's a little dive bar for karaoke, and there was this person that had come in, and they were looking at all the books and the songs and so forth. But the funny thing was they had crutches, and I was like, oh man, I need your crutches. Like, I hurt my ankle the other day. And like they were like, well, you can't have my crutches. Like, I'm sorry, whatever. So whatever, like, it was just very playful, and there seemed like there was nothing to it. They sing a song, and this person gets on the microphone and is like, oh, I've heard that you're all from Australia and you're accustomed to not tipping there, but here in America, we tip our karaoke DJs, and because like, no one really was like tipping anyone. There was like a tip jar and no one was tipping. I lost my shit. I literally, because this person was on the microphone saying this to this entire bar, and like basically like made the whole mood completely like sour. Yeah. Well, I got up in this person's face, and now they're holding the microphone, and I'm like, what did you just say to them? Like, I literally was about to start a brawl. Like, I was so livid because my group was having such a great time, and then this asshole just starts talking shit on the microphone about tipping, and like, it was just inappropriate. Anyway, they started provoking me, and they were like, oh, the tour guide is getting upset. And they ended up getting kicked out. Like, the security ended up coming. They ended up kicking them out. And and actually before they even kicked them out, everyone started chanting my name, which I was really surprised. Like, everyone was like, Jess, because I was defending them. I was like really shocked. So anyway, they get kicked out. My friend Anthony, who is my college friend, was like, oh my God, like, do you realize who you just fought? Do you realize who you just got kicked out of here? And I was like, I was like, no. I was like, I need a fucking cigarette. Because, like, at the time I used to chain smoke. I was, like, so livid. I was like, I need a fucking cigarette right now. He's like, dude, you just got Alexis Arquette kicked out of this karaoke place. So I don't know if anyone's seen The Wedding Singer, but George from The Wedding Singer, that's who I kicked out of this karaoke bar. And everyone loved me. And all I kept saying, I just remember everyone was like, oh, you're such a good C word. I don't say the C word. So everyone's like, oh, you're just such a good person, Jess. You're amazing. And I was like, don't tell Anita. I was like, oh my God, it was the first night of tour. I thought you were going to fire me. I was like, don't tell Anita. I'm like, oh my God, don't tell Anita. Don't tell Anita. Next day on the bus, everyone immediately tells Anita, oh, she's such a good guide. She fought. Like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired right now. Like, I was like, oh, so yeah, that's that story.
Awesome.
In a nutshell, like a 10-minute story.
No, definitely. I think you earned the respect from then, and they knew that you were the real deal, and you had their backs indefinitely. So no, that is fine, and never would you be fired. I wanted to ask you, what have you found? Because when I travel full time, and I guess I have traveled for 8 years full time without being anywhere for more than 10 months, and everyone is like, oh, that's so cool, you're so lucky. And yes, I am. But with it also comes some negatives, which people don't speak about. My two probably are, one, not having a full base and just not feeling secure anywhere. And yeah, two, just always like chopping and changing and being here. So there's always this sense of like loneliness kind of, but yeah, like never having anywhere that's truly mine, or like your coffee shop or your this and this. And I've just had like a suitcase this whole time, and I would go back live with my mum, live with my friends, sleep on a couch, sleep at a hostel. Like I've never really had that. And there's a little bit of yearning and hardship in just being on the road so intensely. So with you traveling so much, I know you do somewhat have a base, but even I guess with friendships or relationships, and now being a full-time flight attendant, what has been the hardest thing you have found about traveling full-time?
I would have to agree with what you said about feeling a little bit of loneliness, because you don't really have a home base.
Yeah.
When I used to travel before I was a flight attendant, I would work a lot and save up my money and then go away, a few weeks at a time. In Australia, like a lot of Australians, they will save up, they'll work, and then they'll go away. But when they go away, it'll be for like months on end. Mm-hmm. They will save up a lot of money, and then they will go away for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit harder here, in my opinion, to get off work, especially with the type of work I was doing before I was a flight attendant. I was a server and bartender, and we work for our tips here, and just like, I don't know, it's not that much money, because sometimes you're not tipped accordingly like you should be.
How much is the lowest? I don't mean to interrupt you, but how much is the lowest you got paid? I remember you telling the group and us freaking out.
Oh, yeah. So, like, in New Jersey, as a server, at the time, this was now a long time ago, 'cause now I've been a flight attendant for 5 years. But back in the day, the hourly wage was like $2.14 an hour, and then you would get paid tips. So you're supposed to get, it's customary to get 15 to 20%. So, for me, I think it's a little bit of a different situation than you, because I was home a lot more than you. But being on the road as a flight attendant, I would say the hardest thing is just working strange hours, being in different time zones. Yeah. You are alone a lot. Like, sometimes you'll have a really good crew to go out with, but a lot of times you'll have a lot of slam clickers, and that's a term in the industry that flight attendants and pilots use, where slam clicker is someone that goes to their room, they slam the door, they click the lock. So they're slam clickers. They don't hang out. They don't go out. They don't want to enjoy the layover or go to dinner with you or do any of that shit. Now, that's not like all the time. Sometimes there's some like amazing crews. Like, I've had some real memorable layovers, but for the most part, sometimes it can feel a little lonely, and it feels like you don't really have a routine. I think that's
definitely.
probably, there's my answer. That is my answer. The hardest part is not having a routine.
Yeah.
You know, not being able to be like, okay, at 5 a.m. every day, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have coffee and breakfast. And then by 6, I'm going to meditate and stretch. And then by 7, I'm going to go for a run and lift and go to the gym. And then by 8 to 10, I'm going to, like, this is in my head, like my ideal, like, dream life, what I would like to do, you know, right? By 10 o'clock, I'd like to have all my social media done. And then I want to work on my project for the day. And then I want to go fly and then, you know, go to bed by, 11 or whatever, right? So I think that's the hardest thing.
The next question to you is advice that you may have for anyone who is hesitant to travel, whether they're just thinking it's scary or they think it's not worth the money, or they just think, I'd like to do that, but I don't think I'm the type of person who can. What advice may you give to someone with these thoughts?
I think anyone that's hesitant, just don't be hesitant. My biggest advice is don't wait for your friends.
Yes.
If you want to do something and you want to go somewhere, do not wait for your friends, because you will never go and you'll never do the shit you want to do.
Yes.
Traveling on my own and doing solo travel has led me to every single amazing thing that has led me up to where I am now, including working for Awake Tours. I mean, I went to Ultra by myself. I met people from all over the world because I stayed in a hostel.
Yeah.
That's how I started traveling. I ended up going on my first Groove cruise because I had traveled alone and got invited to go by someone I had met traveling alone. And then from there, I met other people, and then I learned about other festivals, and then I just started going to all these other festivals because people would invite me, and it was just, you're on your own agenda and just so amazing. Mm-hmm. So I guess for anyone that's hesitant, I would say, just go for it. Book a tour, just book events on your own. Yeah. It might seem hard for some people. It definitely can be hard depending on your personality. Yeah. But I think that you learn so much about yourself.
I agree completely, because the first time when I saved up, I ended up moving to Canada with somebody, and that was like a separate thing. But before that, I had the idea in my head that I wanted to go and travel around, and my friends, bless them, like they were like, oh, we'll come with you. And this is when I was 19. And it wasn't until I was 24, I think, or 25, when any of my friends had joined me again along that journey. So you are completely correct in saying that, like, don't wait for anyone. And in turn, it forces you to just be the type of person you need to be. And people get awkward. And I personally wouldn't stay in hotels just because it's a bit too clinical in a way, and especially if you're younger. So I would stay in hostels, and now if I do, I may get my own room, or I may alternate between that and hotels. But staying in hostels, every single person is the exact same as you there. So you're like, oh my God, I could never travel by myself. But everyone is doing that. So I would just walk into the back patio thing and be like, hey, my name's Anita, I have no friends, can I sit with you? And they would say yes. And you're at a point where if you're not that type of person, you're just going to be alone, and so it semi-forces you to. And then when I've traveled with friends, it's been great also, but you don't tend to make as many meaningful relationships because you just don't have to, because you have your friends there. So it changes you so much, and you learn just to talk to anyone. And yeah, I completely agree. Don't wait for your friends. If you want to go, just go.
Yeah, just do it. It's completely changed my life doing solo travel, because I've just met so many amazing people, and I've been on my own agenda and have gotten to, experience things that sometimes it's harder to do when you're waiting for your friends to plan. And now, don't get me wrong, it's of course amazing to have experiences with your friends. There's been plenty of people that have come on Awake Tours as like a group, like a foursome or a threesome of people. That sounds really wrong, but you know what I mean? Like friendships, like you know what I mean? Like four girls traveling together as friends have booked a tour. You get what I'm saying? But okay, cut that out, Anita. Scratch that.
Go on the bloopers reel. No, this is great. I know what
you know what I meant. But anyways, it's of course amazing to have experiences with your friends too. But I'm just saying, if you've been trying to sell your friends for ideas, right? Like, hey, I want to travel overseas and do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. And everyone says, oh yeah, like I'm so down.
Yeah.
Newsflash, so many times are like people are just all talk, you know, they don't walk, they talk and not walk. And so you just kind of have to like just make your own decision and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it's good. Yeah. Well, I've traveled with my friends and I love it too. But yeah, traveling alone's cool as well because you don't have to, because traveling's stressful. People don't realise that travelling's very stressful. Like you spend a lot of times on airplane floors or just waiting for 8-hour stopovers. So if you have someone there, and here's a hot tip. A lot of people who travel together, I would say probably 70% of them don't talk for at least the first month or 3 months after that, in my experience, people who have toured together, just because it's such an intense experience and to be in each other's space when you're hungover and shit. So that's the one thing I think I like is being on an airplane floor and just being okay to be with me there, just waiting. Whereas sometimes when you're with people, like, oh, this is taking so long, oh, da da da, and it like brings you down. So it allows you just to chill and be. So my next question to you, Jess, is what advice would you give to your younger self in regards to either travel or life or just something you wish that maybe you had known?
I personally wish I started earlier. I didn't really start traveling until I was out of college, so I was 23 or 24, which is, in the grand scheme of things, kind of older, especially for people in Europe or from Australia. Like, a lot of people start traveling like the second they turn 18. I kind of lived in this little American bubble. I lived in New Jersey. I live in North Jersey, so I'm not far from New York City. So I'm definitely around an awesome city. In my opinion, it's the greatest city in the world. I mean, I never really traveled. So I just kind of wish I had started earlier. Yeah. But also on the flip side, I'm one of those people that really believes that each thing that happens is kind of like a stepping stone or like a block for the next one. Yeah. And I don't know how my life would have been if I started earlier. Yeah. I think that a lot of the experiences I had because I was older led me to where I am now and the job I'm in now and living the life that I'm living right now, which has always been, obviously, to some people, like this type of lifestyle of constantly traveling and partying is not for everyone. A lot of people think like, well, when are you going to grow up? I fucking love it. I fucking love my life. I get paid to travel and I get to, it helps like me get to more festivals because I travel for free. Yeah. And then I worked my ass off to be in the festival industry, to get media and go to festivals for free. And so I don't know. I think about that a lot. Like, wow, where would I be if I had started traveling earlier?
No, well, I think you've definitely made up for it. That's for sure.
I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, no doubt. And then if we're talking about media and your time in the industry, Jess obviously has been around the festival industry a lot, but then not just being a participant. You also know a lot of people in the industry and you have a lot of friends, and you've actually spoke at a panel or a couple, haven't you? If you would like to mention what that was.
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned, that's not a word. As I mentioned, so when I met Anita and I started working for Awake Tours, that was back in 2013. And so I was really just trying to get jobs within the festival industry because I was just so in love with the culture and everything about it. And so I went to a conference, which at the time was called the International Music Festival Conference. And it's basically where all the industry professionals come together to talk about, the logistics of festivals and everything you could ever imagine that goes into a festival, like bathrooms or your wristbands or, design packaging or bloggers or media or anyone you could ever imagine was at this conference. The owner of Groove Cruise, Jason, was there, and he was kind of like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I just love festivals. I really want to get involved." And he's like, "Well, I saw the video you edited because I used to do after movies of the festivals I would go to." And he's like, "You need to talk to my PR." And like, it kind of just was like a stepping stone for me to start covering events. So I started a blog, which to this day is still up, livingbythefword.com. Basically, like my whole style was doing a fan perspective blog post. I would write what was great about it, but I also would write what was not great about it so that they could fix it.
Yeah.
As like a festival attendee, like from a fan perspective, I wanted to help them make their festival the best it could be.
Yeah.
So I would give a lot of recommendations and so forth like that. 2016, I spoke on a panel. It was called the Superfan Panel. So essentially it was a panel of festival goers, but superfan festival goers, meaning our biggest hobby is we go to festivals and that's what we do. The majority of the panels are festival producers or, like heavy hitters, if you will, within the industry, talking to other people about how to run a festival. Yeah. So it's like a big learning experience for people to understand like how you run a good festival. So like we were like the panel of people where they could learn from us type of thing. Yeah. So we would talk about just basic things like how important it is to have lighting. Like if you are running a festival and you have a path that is not lit up, you're a liability of people getting hurt, simple things like that. There should never be lines at your festival. Yeah. If you have lines to get in, to get beer, to get food, to go to the bathroom, to everything, you don't have enough of people working, or you don't have enough options for people, or you oversold your event or whatever. Experiences. But my friend Tucker, who is absolutely amazing, he's done a lot of like entrepreneurial type projects, but he wrote a book too called The Festival Goer's Guide, and I contributed to that book as well. So I just love the festival community. It is
your thing.
Pride and joy. It's my baby.
It is. You are literally the biggest fest head that I know. You are. And it's amazing. I'm thinking of all the things that we've done together. I've only got one more question for you. Anyway, this is like been a hectic interview, but all the things we've done together and popping into my mind's all these visions. And then I just completely forgot about the time we hired a car and drove through San Francisco and where did we go? Santa Cruz, Santa Monica, and Santa Barbara. And then we stayed in that
Oh, yeah.
What happened? We stayed in that hotel thing, and either someone was sick or I was sick or it was dodgy or something with the car. I don't know. And then we drove. I just remember driving along the coast and being in San Francisco and going down that windy road and then finding the bridge, and we've done so much.
Yeah, that's Lombard Street.
And then we stayed at your...
I did say it right. It's
Lombard.
Yeah.
And then I remember we stayed at someone's mega mansion in the middle of the forest or the hills or some gated community. Do you remember this?
Oh shit, yeah, and that's Jordan.
That was crazy. What even was...
Yeah, that's my friend Jordan. Mm-hmm.
And he had like all the businesses to do with EDM.com and all this stuff, was it? Or amazing?
Yeah. I don't know what he does anymore, honestly. He still goes to festivals, but I don't think he works within the festival industry anymore. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in so long. It's so funny. I'm going to message him.
It was crazy. Jess was like, we can stay at my friend's house in between like our drive. And then we like rock up.
Yeah, that was San Jose.
Yeah, she's like, I have to call him, and it's like literally a gated community. And we went up the path, and it was like some mega mansion. It was like talking about all this entrepreneurship and all this like people and money and all this celebrity stuff. And then like out the window it looked like a ranch to me, and I just went walking, and where am I? How did I end up here? That was cool. In closing, I just wanted to ask, and if you can't remember anything, that's fine. But if you have a most memorable travel moment, be it personal, on tour, or anything like this that really stands out, or where you felt the best in yourself, or you felt really happy for the opportunity, or just traveling itself as a concept. Very open-ended question, but yeah.
One of my favorite tour memories was on the first tour when me, Brendo, and Maddie tried to make the D outside of the D Las Vegas. Yes. That was also when I still had the 2 torn ligaments in my ankle. And
I'll put up a photo of this.
So they tried to lift me, and we tried to make a D shape. It was so fucked. I'm like, you know, I'm not huge, but I'm a bigger girl. I'm 5'8", you know, like I'm taller and like more like muscular kind of like, and at the time I probably was a little chunkier.
It's so funny. The D is in Fremont Street. And then remember, sorry, I unintentionally cut you off because of the lag, but because D is near Fremont Street, a hotel, and so they were like, let's make the D. And then we asked, it was either the limo driver or one of the workers, and we're like, what's the D stand for? And everyone was just being funny and immature, like, stands for Duke, blah, blah. And they're like, what's the D stand for? And he's like, it stands for exactly what you think it stands for. And then they're laughing. He's like, yes, that's what it means. And then you tried to recreate the D.
Yeah, so that was one. I think the second Coachella tour that I did with you, which was 2015, the group was like so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And like no hate on any of the other people that were in other groups that are listening, because quite honestly, all the people that have come on Awake tours have been so killer, like such good people, like so much fun. But there was something special about that group. Everyone got along. You know, but then everyone could always like go their separate ways, like if they wanted to see different sets, but then somehow everyone would always end up back together. That entire, I think, year was so amazing, tour-wise. And then, I don't know, travel moments, I just feel like there's been so many. I've done a lot of solo travel, and I've been to some beautiful places. My favorite layover is when I was based out in Denver, and I got a trip to Bozeman, Montana, and I rented a car and I drove to Yellowstone National Park. And this was in the middle of winter, so everything was frozen and there was icicles everywhere. And it was my first time seeing buffalo. I was like, oh my God, I was so fucking excited to see buffalo. Like, it was so cool. And like to see all like nature. And I went into the Boiling River, which essentially it's where this river meets with the hot springs from Yellowstone, and it forms basically like a natural hot tub in the middle of nowhere. So you have to like walk through the river, which was absolutely ice cold freezing, but you also have to like be careful because there's certain parts that are like hot pockets that can like scorch your body. That was just so amazing. That was a really good trip. But, you know, sometimes travel, like you said before, Anita, like it's not always pretty. Like it can definitely have its moments of stresses and being tired and like, you know, theft and so many things. But ultimately it is so worth it. It is like the best decision I've ever made to travel and go to festivals. It's just, I feel home when I'm doing those things.
Aww. We can agree 1,000,000 trillion%. But no, thank you so much for your time. In closing, where can the people find you? Where are you most active and what are your socials?
Yeah, you guys can find me anywhere online at Living by the F Word. The F Word stands for flying, festivals, fashion, food, fitness, film, fulfill it yourself, tricks, hacks, and whatever the fuck I want.
Yes.
So basically everything I love in my life is an F word. So that's what the F word stands for.
Thank you so much for your time. I've had a lot of fun. This has actually gone really long, but I feel like I've just chatted to you for 5 minutes. It's been so effortless and I feel like I can talk for hours more, but I'll have to cut it off there because of the timing. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. And I know it's nearly midnight there in New Jersey and you're probably exhausted. But yeah, no, thank you. And we love you and we miss you. And we look forward to the next time that we can all see you either as a guide, our flight attendant, or just generally being around you once these borders open up.
Yes, exactly. And I feel the same way about you. I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you. Thanks for having me on your amazing podcast.
Thanks for coming. All right, have a good night. Bye-bye. All right, bye.
Bye.